All companies, no matter big or small, are transforming their business digitally. They're looking for talents with digital skills to drive digital transformation. Now everyone is expected to work with emerging technologies, where data is the key ingredient. No matter what background you're from, no matter which position you're in, you will be expected to work with data. The truth is, you don't need to be a data professional to work with data. What you need is the ability to analyze, communicate, and work with data. This is data literacy. But how do you become data literate? Step 1. Identify your digital skills. Step 2. Get clarity on what skills to learn based on industry demands. Step 3. Get a personalized learning path unique to you. Step 4. Get matched with jobs and projects relevant to you. Step 5. Connect with peers, mentors, industry experts, and employers. Step 6. Participate in competitions to build reputation. Join thousands of others in a growing community. Future-proof your skills. Become data literate with Rubik. Sign up to get started.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, The Future of Community Movement with Tech. I am Ruslinda from the Center of Applied Data Science. Now, this webinar is actually our second series as part of our activities to showcase CAT's Project 2100, #Data Literacy Month. And this is also brought to you in conjunction with the International Youth Day this month on the 12th of August, with the purpose of drawing attention to the challenges and opportunities of our youth, our future workforce actually, and future leaders. And this also ties well with our mission of Project 2100 to future-proof youth and the workforce in ASEAN to become data literate. Now, why is this ASEAN movement? It's because ASEAN populations in itself is already contributing to 640 millions of the world's population. And the thing that we have to note is that ASEAN are also very young people. These are the youth of the age of 20-something and up to 54 years of age, being half of that 640 million of population. Now, during this the Data Literacy Month, we have a lot to offer in terms of activities that is going to be brought to you. And in this campaign, you may pledge your participation being the community of ASEAN. And I will invite you to stay on after the session is over, should you are interested to know more about this. And we will walk you through about 10 minutes of your time on what it means to be part of this movement too. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite, and it brings me actually great honor to introduce our moderator of today, none other than Chow, who is the icon in the startup world. He's the co-founder of Fave, and he has actually been involved in empowering a lot of youths, a lot of entrepreneurs, mentoring them, and even investing in early stage startups in the region. Now, please welcome Chow. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Roslinda. Hi, everyone. Yeah, hope everyone is good over there. Staying safe and everything healthy. I know that there's a lot of things moving in the country and everything, but I think let's stay safe, and thanks a lot for dialing in. I will see 100 of you dialing in today for these sessions, and hopefully we'll get to learn from the three of the panelists that has many interesting sharings and that what they are doing on, right? So maybe let me just quickly bring on the panelists, right? So maybe first, let me bring on Reza, right? Reza is the founder and CEO of PichaEats. I mean, this is a full-time that he's building on, and then he has other aspects. So maybe Reza, you want to turn on your video?
All right. Thank you, Chow.
Yeah. So Reza, you want to introduce maybe let me just go through everyone first, then we'll get everyone to introduce, right? So the next one we have is Sidharrth Nagappan, co-founder of Sambal SOS. So hi, Sidharrth.
Hi.
Yeah, I can go you by Sid, right, for this session?
Yeah, Sid is good. Yeah.
Okay, next up, we'll invite Kim from PichaEats. Hi, Kim.
Hello, Chow. Hello, guys.
Yeah, so great to see everyone, and I think that let's everyone have a fruitful session. So we have about 50 over minutes here, and I think with these sessions, let's dive in a bit. Maybe I'll go one round to get our esteemed panelists to do a bit of intro themselves. Maybe Reza, you want to start first?
Sure. I ran a few tech businesses, but fortunately, about a month ago, a colleague came up with the idea to start a website to enable people to do peer-to-peer charity. So that was what happened. And since then, the website kitajaga.co, which we founded about 5 weeks ago, has been visited by about 1.5 million Malaysians, and we have seen about 90,000 requests for help and about 30,000 requests of offering help to this needful community, and thousands of this peer-to-peer transaction has happened on the platform, and we've been very happy to be able to help people via kitajaga.co during these trying times.
Chen, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I think saying that, I think like thanks a lot, Reza, for introducing, and I think that maybe for any of you in the audience, let's make it interactive one as well. So if you have been to kitajaga.co, maybe just type in a comment there you have been, whether you have dared to help anyone as well, or maybe you know someone who seeking for help. So maybe there's something that you can type on if you have gone through that, right? Maybe next, let me invite Sid from Sambal SOS, and he has also done something quite similar, interesting. Let me pass on to Sid.
Okay, so I'm Sidharrth. I'm a computer science student specializing in data science, and I'm also a full stack developer. Around a month back, me and a couple of friends, we made Sambal SOS, a crowdsourcing platform to gather aid data across the nation. It was a random idea that we had, which was spawned by the lack of data centralization, because multiple parties during the pandemic were collecting their own data of people that need help. People were gathering their own ways, having their own hotlines. And so there wasn't like this one singular place where you could see all these reports so ordinary people could help. At that point, that was lacking. So we came up with the Sambal SOS, where you could flag an SOS on a map, and people nearby can see where you live and get help to you. So it's powered by the people, and it's purely a crowdsourcing platform.
So great, yeah. So maybe you want to share with people what is the URL as well?
Okay, sambalsauce.com, sambalsos.com.
Yeah, sambalsauce.com, and this is kitajaga.co, right? So I think maybe it's the same thing. And if you have any comment, you have gone through sambalsauce.com, I think maybe you can even type there as well, anything that you have comment and look at. And for many of you, if you haven't, so definitely go in and check out those two sites, right? I think, and then if you can afford it, then help someone. And if you know someone that could help, definitely, right? So I think really appreciate that too. Yeah, and let's go to Kim first, and then we can come back on talking about this, right? So Kim has been with PichaEats from the day one. Maybe Kim can share a bit introduction.
Hi everyone. My name is Kim, and I'm one of the co-founder of PichaEats. We're called the Picha Project before, and we're basically a food business, and we partner with refugees who are now transiting in Malaysia and to prepare home cooked food and then deliver to customers or corporates. So that's what we've been doing since 2016, and this year or last year, since we've been pivoting a lot, and you see a lot of different offerings on our website.
Yeah, so Kim, maybe you want to share your URL as well? What website names?
Yeah, it's just PichaEats.com.
Yeah, PichaEats.com, right? And then maybe for those of you who have tried PichaEats.com food, whether from the website ordering or whether you have gone through any events that serve PichaEats foods, I think maybe do share as well. So I think that great to hear. I think all three of them have been doing interesting things. And I think today's topic, future community movement with tech, right? So I think a few aspects on it. So I think one is that how do you see the future of leveraging a community together and drive a movement and leveraging on technology, right? I think today with technology, many things can be broken through. And I think that's something that I think we want to look at for today. So I think, and maybe a question to everyone in the panelists, right, is that why doing community movement, right? There's so many things that you can do, right? Of course, you can just build a place and then just do it yourself. Why do you want to crowdsource? Why do you leverage a community? Why do you pull people together, right? And with this, as you do this, what change do you hope to achieve, right? By leveraging a community, and what's the the power of this community that we bring about? Maybe you can share one or two of anecdotes as well that you have seen example of the community that make a big difference, right? So maybe I do reverse order. Let's start from Kim first, and then we'll come back.
You're saying how tech is sorry, Chen, can you repeat one more time?
Yeah, so I think what makes you choose to drive via community movement, right? To do this, right? So as you do Picha, why you leverage a community? Because a lot of times it's a lot of community believe in this and going on it. And I think as you go through this, what change that you expect to leverage on community to achieve this? And also maybe one or two anecdotes that you see this in action.
Yeah. I think working with the community since 2016, we have seen quite a lot of changes in terms of the two things. First thing is in terms of numbers. There are a lot of when we were promoting Picha at that point, we always say that there's 130,000 registered refugees, but right now we're at 180,000 registered refugees. That's what I always share. It means like the numbers have increased as well. But in terms of like changes for the community, I think a lot of time we always see them as burden. We always see them as people who, yes, they need help, but in a way we have to help them with dignity. So I think I hope to see more of the changes among the community in a much dignified way as well. Like right now, like especially during the white flag movement, we're always like giving the items, right, to the people who need and the community. But what about like creating job opportunities? What about finding more sustainable ways to help them in the long run? I've also like helped people individually to group settings in a way that they need the urgent help. I understand there's a need of that, but at the same time, what's the long-term plan right here? So I hope that with whatever resources that we have, whether it's data, whether it's tech, or whether it's manpower or other financial resources, I hope we can see more of such different initiatives in the future. And I'm sure a lot of different platforms or different organizations right now are also slowly getting a sense that that is needed and working towards there.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. And I think you brought up an important point, right? I think on the long-term aspects and also make it sustainable and with dignity that the way is provided help on. I think a lot of these things, I think, taken into considerations in a lot of the things that we have been done. So maybe I'll go to Sid, right? I think maybe you can answer some of the questions I just now was asking about. I think on why you leverage on community movement, and then also what change do you expect to achieve and through this, and also any anecdote or examples that you look at. And I think just for the audience, I think Sid and his friends are doing this. They're all students, right? I think there's a future where a lot of young folks go out there. I mean, thinking back when I was a student, I didn't do any of this, right? So I think that's really interesting that what you all are doing it. Yeah. And maybe Sid, if anything that just now Kim brought up, you want to touch on, feel free to add on as well.
Okay, so a single person, let's say I'm a member of parliament, or I'm a person who wants to help, I can put out a hotline number, and then I would say, anyone who needs help, you go ahead and WhatsApp this number, and then I will collate a list, and then my team of people will go and help you. So many different people can put out their own hotlines. Many different people can put out a call for help, and so everyone is gathering their own data. So that's like these singular parties all trying to help in their own aspects. But this sort of thing is never enough, and this data is never pulled together, and that's where the power of community comes together. So instead of just selected people just trying to gather this data, we need to be able to have ordinary people every day, going on. If they see someone needs help or they want to report an incident, they should be able to do it easily. And that's the only way we can gather enough data that is accessible by ordinary people. And during the MCU, especially since we can't travel long distances and mobility is really an issue, data crowdsourcing is the only way to let people nearby you, people near you, understand where you live, and it's the best way to get help as soon as possible. So a single person can do a bit, but when you have the power of community and you have all this crowdsourced data pulled into one place, it is limitless what you can do with it, and it is limitless the number of people that can get help just because their report is on the map. So with this power, we have over 27,000 users and close to 1,000 reports made across the country. And we've gotten countless stories and messages from people where they've sent like screenshots of chats where they've actually talked with the people that wanted help. And then some people who actually received help PM'd us saying that, this person helped us today. Can you take down our report? So and some people even saying we got multiple people randomly calling us and messaging us saying, do you need help? So that really shows the power of the community when it comes to this platform. So yeah, so the data volume is one of the biggest factors when it comes to the need of crowdsourcing.
Yeah, so great sharing, I think, Sid there, right? And I think you talk about what everyone come together can do and bringing across. So I think those are definitely key elements, right? And as we're building on it, leveraging across. Yeah, so maybe I'll pass to Reza to add on the same question.
Sure. From our end, KitaJaga.co was started by my colleague. So we had to suddenly decide to do this on the side, right? Beside running a software business. So, but thankfully, the journey for us has been amazing, right? As even like Sid is saying, a lot of the apps we built in the past were very commercially driven. So when you build something really community driven like this, you have to run it sort of like a crypto community. So you have your Telegram group, you have people requesting features on daily basis. You have to update and send, let people know that you have delivered new features, and the community be excited about it. And then you have evangelists on the ground. We never built software which have evangelists on the ground, right? Meaning people who are consistently using and promoting the tool for us. That's just something that we never had building software before, because a lot of software we built before were very commercially driven. So I think it all falls back to first the concept of KitaJaga being very decentralized and also peer-to-peer, right? So it's in line with the whole decentralization movement that is happening now. So I think people like that a lot. And also it solved the important economic problem, right? The main economic problem of the allocation of scarce resources. So what is the best way? You have seen so many NGOs, so many people trying to give help, but sometimes the aid reach the recipient too late, right? So how can this be resolved? So I think what Sid and we at KitaJaga built is very similar. We enable peer-to-peer transactions, so you can go and help the neighbor that's nearest to you. So help can be delivered very, very quickly to those who need aid. But of course, I think I truly agree what Kim said as well. Kim is definitely the hero of this community movement, right? She's been doing it for a while, 5-6 years now. I was shoved into this just a month ago, and it's been a mind-blowing experience. But of course, importantly, after this, the sustainability of the movement. I think that is something that myself, I wanted to learn from Kim on how can she make the movement be sustainable beyond its initial viral phase.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think what Reza shared on it, right? And I think that one of the key parts is sustainability, right? So I think for this one, especially, I think maybe I'll go back to Kim, right? We'll circle to you. I think on that question of sustainability lasting through several years. I mean, as you go through, maybe you can share a bit of 1 or 2 inflection points, right? As you build PichaEats, that basically make it sustainable, that maybe as everyone go through this can think of, right?
I think first thing is I mean, we need to have a goal that we want to make sure that our impact is long lasting. And that meant that we need to sustain in terms of our business acumen or business venture. And I think along the way, when I started, I was like Sid like that. We started as a student, and we had no idea how to do all these things. And I think very helpful is that along the way, there are a lot of mentors. Actually, Chen Chow is also one of our mentors that always give us pointers into how to grow the business and achieve the impact that we want at the same time. I must say our numbers are not as amazing, like 1.5 million visits to the website, because it's very different nature. But at the same time, we are changing lives one life at a time now. And that's how we decided to work with the community So since we started, we've actually partnered with around 40 chefs with their families and have trained, I think, up to 40 new chefs, 40 refugees as new chefs so far. And I think first thing I always tell people that very important is to think about business comes first. Yes, I understand there's an impact that we need to achieve. But if we are always thinking about the impact first, then we will always lost the sense of business. Why? Then we won't think about our customer acquisition cost. We won't think about our costing. We won't think about lifetime value or efficiency and all these things. We won't think about that. And in the long run, it's not just money sustainability, financial sustainability, it's energy sustainability as well. And you will burn out at one point that you just cannot offer anything anymore. And it is going to be a pretty difficult journey to actually come out from that realm. Yes, people in the business world do get burnout as well, but in the impact side, when you're burnt out, it means that the beneficiaries that you're working with are at risk of not gaining income or that livelihood as well. So it is a very huge responsibility at the same time. So putting business first is something I always advocate to any social entrepreneurs who is going to go into this sector.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Kim, right, for sharing this. And I think talking on this sustainability and going through, and I think you talk about one life at a time. I think there's something that I think definitely resonate on. I still remember Johan Marikan, the current director of budget for Malaysia, MOF, former Telecom CEO. I think he was sharing a starfish story, right? So he said that maybe at the beach, there are lots of starfish dying there, right? And then he was talking about the story that for every starfish that you can pick it up and then put it back into the sea, maybe, yes, you can't clear off all the starfish on the beach, but for that particular starfish that you pick it up and then put it back into the sea, that makes a whole life change for that starfish. You make the starfish get a chance to live again and continue, right? So I think a lot of it is that. Yeah, so maybe before I continue further, I think the audience, I think we have now about 25 minutes into the session, so we have another 35 more minutes to go. I'd like you all to start throwing in questions into the Q&A, right? So that later on we can start picking up some of those. Yeah, so I think if you have any questions, any aspects that you want to have, now we have these 3 of them, all the experts into different area, all the people that have gone through whether good time, bad time, tough times, right? As they go through this, a lot of this is during the peak time is also where a lot of things, the challenges are going through. So anything you would want to ask, feel free to put it there, especially I think on the topic of future of community movement with technology, right? So I think that's maybe some part. Maybe let me go next question, right? Is how do we use data to identify problems? How do we use data to identify solutions? And what's the difference, right? And I think maybe as we look at it, leveraging on data is that as you use data, does it solve more problems or does it help you to highlight more problems to you? And how do you see the interconnect between the two? Right. So maybe we'll go to Reza and then we'll go around the other way around. Reza?
Yes. What was the name? What was the?
Yeah. So I think how do we use data to identify problems? And then how do we use data to identify solutions? And then how do you connect the 2 dots, right? Whether as we look at data, does it help you to solve problems or does it help you to highlight more problems?
Sure. I think from our end at Kita Jaga, right, when we first started, it was just a simple form. We had 3 fields, what you want, your name and your phone number. But eventually we got to identify that a lot of people, when they need help, first of all, of course, food item is what they need, but we also find out that some people need financial help to pay rent. Then a lot of people also need formula milk. A lot of people need diapers, right? So and there's a 5th category of people needing jobs, right? They don't just want to take help from people without doing things. So there's so many different category when we look at it, and of course you have the category of those who are Malaysian, those who are foreigners, and then those who maybe qualify for certain aid from certain agency. And this has been interesting for us because we have been able to work and spoke to a lot of agencies and NGOs certain agencies that focuses on unemployment, certain NGOs which focuses on immigrants, and certain NGOs or that focus on just helping out people in certain areas, right? So what's unique is we have been able to tag a lot of these requests into our in our database, so we could now direct those who need the right tag to the correct person that can handle this problem quickly. So basically, from our data from initially being very unstructured in the early days, now is a lot more structured, right? So by being structured, we have been able to resolve this allocation of resource problem, which is still ongoing. We are still having fun looking at the data. We get an average of these days. In the early days, we get about 10-15,000 flags a day. Now, on the average, we get about 2,357 flags being raised every single day, and about a majority of them, about 40%, is in Selangor. Second is in, if I look at the data, second is in, of course, KL, and then you have the other states, which are Sabah. So that was interesting, right? So the Sabah data was very interesting for us, because before this, we did not categorize them by which area. So when we started categorizing, we just realized that request from it in Sabah is very, very high. Third in the country in Kita Jaga, because there's the poverty rate in Sabah is about 25%, way higher, more than double than the second most highest poverty rate in Semenanjung, right? So that was interesting. I think in Semenanjung, the second poverty rate is either Kelantan or Terengganu at 12%, and then the third is either one of those, right? So that was an interesting data. I did not know that poverty rate in Sabah was very high compared to because we kept seeing that there's so many flags being raised in Sabah and a lot of Sabahan raising their flag here. But eventually, once we realized that, we are now trying to reroute a lot of the requests from Sabahan to the right Sabahan NGOs and people and those who can deliver the aid more quickly to them than us over here in Semenanjung.
Yeah, good insights, Reza. Yeah, I think one thing is that a lot of times maybe there's Sabah as a state, right? The population is actually even bigger than Sarawak. I think Sabah is a 3.8 million population or so as well. And I think that, yes, poverty is definitely one aspect. If you today look at vaccination registration as well, Sabah is far behind every other states. So I think definitely a lot of focus needs to be placed there to look into it. Maybe Sid, do you see similar aspects? Any difference that you see or anything similar?
So when it comes to us, it's not as sophisticated the way we use data to route resources, but we have gotten a lot of requests, especially from contract sourcing employers who want to find small jobs for people who are looking for jobs. So at a certain point in the middle of last month, there was a surge of reports on the map saying that this person had lost a job, and they were asking for help. So what we did was we routed some of these reports that were job related. People who were looking for jobs, to this contract sourcing agencies who wanted to put who were requesting for this kind of information. So we routed them to this, and then some of those people actually got jobs, and we have testimonials of this actually happening. So we did route some of those very specific kind of requests. But mainly what we can see from the sort of clustering over time is like when you look at the map on a macroscopic basis, and you see these clusters forming across the country, and how these clusters actually change over the days, over the past month. We did some simple analytics, and it was very interesting to see the densities changing. Like, for example, early last month, there was quite a bit in Sabah Sarawak, but now it's decreasing. But Selangor and KL, it sort of stayed consistent over time, the number of reports that were being made. So you can see these sort of fluctuations and how these densities are changing. And some regions, like we had a few from Kampa. So at the start, there were quite a few, now there's none. When you sort of plot everything and you see this distribution change, and then you correlate with other factors like vaccine registrations and the number of cases and all this other open source data the government is giving, it is pretty incredible the kind of analytics you can get when it's all put together. So there's a lot of potential for that kind of open source data. So that's really something we were exploring, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, thanks for Sid. And I think as I saw as you were speaking, Reza was nodding ahead as well. I think there's a lot of the aspects that I think where you share, I think resonate. I think there's a lot of the aspects that you go through. And I think pretty interesting, I think what you talk about, like how do you correlate with all the other aspects in the community, whether people are going out to help, how's the vaccination, how's and other NGOs efforts and connecting the dots. So I think it's pretty interesting to see it at a macro view and then going down on it. And it's because thing of it is that you actually can zoom in into the very little dot at where exactly, and then when you zoom out, right? Yeah. Let me shift here a bit, right? I think on the question. So maybe I'll go to Kim on this one. Is like, I think maybe that in the audience there's a lot of young people that want to make a change, right? And they do it on the community aspects as well. So what are the ways that the young people can take effective actions for change in community?
There are many ways. I mean, first thing, you volunteer. There's a lot of places or organizations that allow you to volunteer. Especially, I think a lot of organizations, like the topic that we're mentioning today, need a lot of help in data and tech as well. When I talk about, I don't have the knowledge of data that Reza and Sid would have, but I understand, like, in terms of like a business, like how do you make those decision, right? And I do think like a lot of organizations do need this kind of help when it comes to efficiency, whether the outcome is expected or not, and all these things. So with those people that can help in this area, the organization can think about how to help people more. And I think a lot of different ways are right now is being advocate like to the issue that you are passionate about. But when I talk about advocate, it's not just like one time off or like just 1 month, just very you feel emotionally about it, and then after that it just dies off. You need to be a constant advocate of at least, like, I don't know, at least an issue that resonates with you. It doesn't. I won't say that it's totally. I don't say it totally represent your identity, but I'm just saying that if you really want to help, then be an advocate for an issue that you are passionate about, but do it constantly. Yeah, I think to make a change in the community, I do think like these are the ways that you can involve, or you see what skills you have, basically, whether it's data, whether it's designing, whether it's public speaking, or whatever skills that you think you're really good at, and spend some time with an organization, because I think you don't just give, you also take, and you learn something from it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kim, for sharing on that, right? So maybe our next question, Pastor Reza and Sid, on this, right, is that I think as you try to get the volunteer to support, right? So is it that maybe the situation is, how is the volunteer coming along, right? Is it a lot or very little? So let's say if it's a lot, how do you filter and select? If it's very little, how do you convince more people to do it? Maybe Reza first, and then we'll go to Sid.
Okay, on my end at Kita Jaga, we are just merely there's no intermediary, right? So we don't validate these volunteers. We don't go and pick whoever wants to help. So it's very peer-to-peer. So you decide who you want to assist, and when the request has been attended to, what you did is you request the token ID from the recipient, and you are able to enter that token, and that takes the flag down lah. So that is how we are doing it. So in terms of how we do it, is very decentralized. So people update us, tag us on Facebook, on Twitter, that they are helping people out. But we have no, we don't pick who get to. I mean, in terms of in general, the NGO, we collaborated with a lot of them. So they send update which flag they have taken down, which flag has been attended to, meaning which person has been attended to, and things like that. But we do not select lah. They come to us, and if we can somehow just verify, oh, this is probably valid. So if they give us an Excel sheet to take down the flag, we will just take it down lah. So yeah, because for us in Spirit, it's designed to be very decentralized. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Reza. Yeah, maybe for Sid, let me switch a bit the question, right? It's the same thing on volunteerism, but maybe not on the people that are doing the help, but more on people that will volunteer to help you, maybe to code, maybe to help you to build up on the organ on your site, right? Rather than the people that are helping the people recipient. Maybe any comment on that, whether how do you select or how do you convince people, etc. on that aspects?
There was no need to convince that the day we went out, actually, we got a lot of people messaging us, mainly students, that really wanted to join the engineering team. So actually, I got a few, like one guy, he's only in Form 2 or Form 3. And he actually contributed to some new features we were working on at the time. And there's another guy, he's studying in the US right now. He's a Malaysian guy studying in the US. So he's in so we're working across different time zones and different ages. And the most senior member of the engineering team, who's helping us on the DevOps side, is actually an engineer with over 10 years of experience. So we have a Form 2 student, and we also have an engineer with 10 years of experience. So it really, we got a lot of support when it comes to people wanting to volunteer. But the majority of the team, the social media and the engineering team, is just made up of students, students of all ages actually, and it has really been heartwarming to see the amount of support we've gotten to release new features fast, especially when a lot of people are working on it at once.
That's very good. I think very heartwarming to hear that, right? And I know that even for Reza's sites, I saw in the social media that different people were sharing on you looking at early days on different people to volunteer. I'm quite sure similarly a lot of people volunteering. So maybe now I'm going to switch gear a bit to start taking questions from the audience, right? So I think we've received a few questions from the audience. I think let's keep the questions coming so that we can cover some of that. So I think and then maybe each question I may point one or two of y'all to talk about so that we can take more questions rather than every question go all three. So I think maybe this question is to Kim. What does putting business first really mean in social entrepreneurship? Will you be able to give some personal examples where you had to make a choice?
I can't really pick out any personal example on the spot, but I think there are a lot of decisions that can be made by data. Example like our products, because we have, I think, a range of 100 to 200 over products by so many chefs, right? And we need data in a way that to understand which product is really working well and which is not. And if the product is really working well, that's great. Then we would think, how to make it better, how to help people upsell it. And if the product doesn't really work well, then we will work with the chef to see how can we improve the product. Is there any other cooking techniques that are needed? Is there other way of putting the sets together that is needed? I think that's the first thing. Second thing, then we talk about marketing, right? Marketing got so many data that you have to look into. Your social media outreach, your conversions, your acquisition cost per customer, your effectiveness of your ads. All these things will help you to drive decisions in a way that, like, should you constantly put the same advertisement up, or should you change to a much more visual content, or like a more written content? I know a lot of people are more prone to visuals, but you'll be surprised that there are also people that are prone to writings as well. But it depends on your audience, right? So you need to understand this data. Then it comes to operations, how efficient your deliveries are, how many hiccup rates do you make, and how do you reduce those hiccup rates? And then you talk about customer service, how happy your customer is. Do you rate them? Do you have them rate you about your level of customer service? And community as well. There are data to be made for communities. When we get our chefs to cook, before they produce an order, they need to do market tests, and they need to do in a way to test their product. So you need to understand how much money is going into all this R&D before that product launches. So all these things you have to control, or else you'll be attaining a lot of costs that does not bring you revenue. And that's where inefficiency happens, and that's where you burn out, and that's where your business will fall apart. So very important in terms of financials as well, a lot of data to look at to understand your business health and your social enterprises health. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Yeah, thanks for a very comprehensive, I think, sharing with several anecdotes, right, on how do you look at this. So the next question I'm going to take, this one will go to Reza and Sid. I think the question is, I think maybe people think about is how do you monitor whether the request or the reporting is genuine? And then how do you get whether scam or people that would cheat on it? Maybe people get multiple requests from the same resource. Maybe they'll go and ask from both your sites and many other sites, or maybe get from many people. How do you prevent that? And maybe, and then maybe how do you think, how prevalent is this? Maybe Sid first, and then we'll go to Reza.
Okay, that's actually a very interesting question. So we have two barriers in place. Number one, every report that's made, every request for help is actually individually filtered by us. So we approve every single request that comes in. So let's say someone puts up something on the map. We check it first. We check the photo, we check the location, we check the description. If everything looks legitimate, then we approve it. Only after that it shows up on the map. But oftentimes this is usually not enough, and there have been cases where the same person has reported for help multiple times, and then someone who tried to help, they spotted this and they said that this is no longer genuine, and they messaged us asking us to take it down. So while we're not fully peer-to-peer, there is quite a bit of intervention from us. There are still incidents like this, and it's a bit difficult to find that balance between increasing the speed at which it appears on the map, and also fully verifying the legitimacy of every single report out there. It's a difficult balance to achieve, and when we're constantly working on new ways to verify. So for example, the photo on ours, we collect photos, and we don't allow anyone's faces inside, obviously, but it usually helps us to identify the location of the house. And some people upload stock photos, or they go to Property Guru and just take a photo and put it there. So all these are certain factors that sort of help us verify whether the report was made from a legitimate location. It's a bit nuanced, and we're still trying to find that balance. But yeah, it's not an easy solution, I guess.
Yeah, I think good breadth and depth, and I think what Sid brought up, right? I think a lot of times the nuance of it and the details of it as you go through that. Hey, Reza, any thoughts?
Sure. On our end, of course, when we first started, it was a hackathon project, right? So, of course, we overlooked the security, the privacy of it. So what we have been implementing now is, first of all, we noticed there were some reports of people of scam. So we decided to the community member, we will put a notice. First thing we did was we put a notice. This is how you verify, and maybe you should avoid cash. And then after that, we told them if you want to deliver stuff to the intended recipient, you use service like GoGet or whatever service delivery to deliver this item without you having to see the recipient. So that makes the transaction a lot more secure. And then now we also highlight on the website, if you're on Kita Jaga, you're able to see this phone number, how many times has it been used on the map. But moving forward, what we are doing is we are working with a lot of these NGOs and agencies and companies that's helping people out. So we are giving them access as a validator to our backend, so they can look at the audit trail, how many times has the number requested for it, and also they can put a mark if someone has one of the other NGO has assisted this person. You can put a mark, so when a next NGO goes to it, they can see whether this phone number has been assisted by a previous NGO and when and what was the audit trail behind it lah. So this we developed this somehow because when we spoke to a lot of NGOs and even agencies that's helping people out, they don't seem to have a sort of system, or they don't share data within this separate distinct organization. So that is something that perhaps we wanted to try to enable with Kita Jaga. That's our aspiration.
Yeah, I think great stuff. I think what Reza shared, right? I think that the level of depth they're going in and the flagging and pointing out, I think collaboration, connecting, right? I think pulling out various resources, leverage across. And I think that's something that maybe even not many, maybe even countries or region, right, that actually have it, right? If you look at it. So I think that's something that I think beyond this as well, I think that's something that we can tap upon. And I think that if we talk about this community movement, leveraging on tech or whatnot, right? I think that there's, I think one of the examples that maybe I'll quote also is like I say that during the quarantine, right, when Malaysians or foreigners abroad coming into the country, in the Facebook group, there's a group that Malaysian quarantine, I can't remember the exact quarantine support group or something, where there are tens of thousands of people where they're going there and helping, so that people are knowing like those are the more low tech version in the sense that they don't build a platform like what Kita Jaga Sambal as well as built, but they are like more leveraging on Facebook, where different people come and share. So I'm staying in this hotel, these are the steps, and then these are the things if I need to go there here, and people actually build all the FAQs and whatnot. So I think a lot of this leveraging, and then I think a lot of the people doing it community day in, day out, right, and to balancing it. So I think that's something that is pretty good, right? The next question is appointing someone. Maybe I'll just ask in general and see whether any of you, three of you, has done, right? I think one of the questions coming from the audience is, have you all used leveraging on AI or machine learning in what you are doing? And then if there is, maybe elaborate something on it. Any of you three doing that today? No, okay.
Not yet.
So not yet, but maybe it's something that
Not yet, but we are
Chen Chow
planning.
got.
is it you want to add on?
So basically, when he had all these reports, so we're coming up with actually working on a dashboard, where you can see the time series analysis of how many reports on the map and how they've changed over time. So that's mainly just for a visualization, but we don't actually currently employ any machine learning algorithms to filter reports or it's not part of our core operations, but it's something we do now and then to sort of visualize how these clusters are changing over time.
Yeah, I think good to hear that. And I think that as we go on, a lot of times I think whether AI, machine learning, a lot of it is don't start from technology. I think start from the intended outcome, right? So I think of it, what you try to help the community, what you need, what problem you try to solve. And all this technology or data and whatnot can help you to achieve that. And as you're going through that bit, right? So I think that would be one aspect on it. And maybe the other questions that I think a question from here, Alan Wang, was like, any opportunity that you leverage on partnering with MNC, GLCs who have the CSR mandates to support any of your worthy initiatives? Maybe maybe you want to share a bit. Let's start from Reza, and then we'll circle the other way.
We've been around for we have been working with mostly small companies and NGOs, and not with any of the GLCs or MNCs, not yet. But we look forward to collaborate. That's why we're building the platform to be a lot more collaborative in the future.
So currently, besides the sponsorship we've received from Google Malaysia and some support from MDEC in helping us get this sponsorship, we're not actually collaborating with any JLCs at the moment. Yeah.
How about Kim?
My side is mainly procurement. So before the pandemic, is mainly serving the corporates, their events, functions, and meetings for food. But in terms of CSR, we also try and work together. The thing is, with CSR for local companies, it's a bit difficult if they are big ones, because they have a policy where they cannot donate to refugees. It must be local beneficiaries. So we have never tried and target those things. But in terms of international companies where they are much linear and much open, we do work with different companies in depending on the campaign that we are running. Example, like we did with Volkswagen last year, driving some of their convoys around to deliver food to people in need, where Volkswagen sponsored the food. And then we sometimes work with, different, and we also work with, we try and work with cooking equipments as well. So they will sponsor the cooking equipment. We will try and see what we can do together to have a better outreach. So it depends what is needed one point, and then we try and be as creative as we can.
No, that's good. Yeah. So I think it's a lot of time as we building on it, I think that's where you can leverage on. And I think that especially I think what Kita Jaga and Sambal SOS, I think this is a recent initiative, right? Especially during this tough time and pulling through and building on. And I think making the impact. And I think what Kim and team has gone through is over the last 2 years building this. I think a lot is then how do we marry all these things and connect the dots. Yeah. So I think we left a few more minutes. So I think instead of maybe we ask more questions, maybe I'll just go the final round to the each panelist, right? So I think maybe is what is if there is one, maybe I'll each of you end with maybe two questions, two pointers, right? So I think one is that if the audience, because right now we have close to 200 people on the audience already, the crowd has grown since we started, right? So I think anything that you think the audience here can help you, so this is what they can help you on. And then the second one is maybe any message for them, right? On if they want to, if they look up upon you, what can they do or what should they do? Any advice for them, right? So maybe we start with Kim and then we'll end with Reza later.
Yeah, sure. I mean on feature, if you could understand more about the refugee issue and be an advocate for what we do, I think that's very helpful. Secondly, I'm actually working on a second social enterprise called The Other School. So it's actually a global classroom that we want to enable people to learn, but at the same time, they will know that they are impacting or enabling quality education for refugee kids. So it's a very different space. I think it's very related to EdTech. So if you are interested to volunteer and do something, you can actually add me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. LIMYUETKIM. Just look up for me and just send me a message, and I'll brief you more and tell you more if you want to know about it. So we're actually recruiting somewhat like a volunteer, and we call them the other builders. So basically helping us to build the other school. But in terms of like one thing that I would like everyone to know is that never underestimate small help all the way to big help. Sometimes the smallest help really changes someone's lives, and sometimes the biggest help not necessarily is that impactful as well. So don't undermine and don't have to think that whether is your help, the size of your help is big or small. It doesn't matter. A help is a help, and it's going to help someone very long way. You never know. Even you sharing something, a piece of content on the social media, you never know that it might change someone's lives who may wanted to end their life on that day, and because of your content they change their mind, right? So you never know. So just be that person who is always ready to give, not to say give all, but give a little bit every single day.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kim. Yeah, maybe we'll go to Sid. So I think that what help that I think people can help you or Sambal SOS, and also what advice you have for the audience.
So since we're primarily a crowdsourcing platform, it would be great if everyone checks the platform regularly, on a daily basis, whenever they're free. Just log in. It'll automatically zoom in on your location. Look around, see whether anyone near you needs help, and if you can, please try to help them. And if you know someone who needs help, or you see certain incidents like this, please put it on the map. So the more data we can collect, other people can also see and help. So we really need the community support to sort of keep the map active. And if anyone's interested in volunteering in the engineering team or social media, please do reach out to me, and then there's always a way to help as part of the team. But mainly what I want to say is please continuously use the platform. Mainly check regularly, check on a daily basis near your area. Is there anyone who needs help? And if you can, please do try to help, because during the time of the pandemic, we have to look out for each other, I guess. That's it for me.
Yeah, great one, Sid. Yeah, really appreciate that. Yeah, Reza?
Yeah, on my end, please check out kitajaga.co if you have not done so. And as what Sid said, please check if there's anyone near you that you could help on either Sambal SOS or Kita Jaga. So And I think from my end, what I have learned is I learned quite a bit myself from this session today. I like what Kim said early on in terms of sustainability. You want to do something business first and impact later. Yeah, so that's something that we have to look at with even Kita Jaga right now. That is interesting. And also, if you want to make changes, I think Chen Chow highlighted something very apt just now. I think start with the outcome, not the technology, right? I think the technology is just the enabler. For us at Kita Jaga, we're fortunate to be able to build such a beautiful app because we've been doing it for 14 years, right? So that's why we can build this in 4 days. But there is a lot of low code, no code tools out there. You can even use Google Forms. I mean, there's just multiple technology that's available out there to enable the outcome you want. So I think I've learned quite a bit from Chen Chow, Kim, Sid. So thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Reza. And I think thanks a lot, everyone here. In Reza, Sid, Kim, I think amazing sharing, right? I hope that I'm definitely very inspired. I definitely hope that you all are inspired as well. And I think that as we learn through this, right, the future community movement with tech, I think that we all can play a part. I think the world will become a much, much better with all of us putting in something, whichever way, whichever capacity that you can, right? And I think a lot of it is going down there and see what you can do, whether you can commit really doing something significant, or if not support something, or if at the very least don't pour cold water on other people's initiatives. At least go out there, and I think every bit that you believe, go on the causes that you believe in. I think whether in whatever aspects, because there's just so many things out there, right? And I think it's doing it. If you believe in environment, go and help on environment. Believe in poverty, do you believe in education, refugee, hunger, whatever it is, right? So I think it's choose the one that you believe in and go on it. Or maybe education and maybe helping people that you already know of, or maybe some of your friends, close friends, maybe they're facing through, or maybe at this point, some people are facing mental stress challenges as well with all the lockdowns and everything. So I think be a friend, be out there to do whatever way and make a difference, right? And together we can make this better. And I hope that you all will walk away from here, believe that you will do something, and let's together. And thanks a lot, Cats CADS, for hosting us in these sessions, and really appreciate Reza, Sid, and Kim for sharing a lot of the things, and really wish that I think Kita Jaga, Sambal SOS, PichaEats will continue to prosper. And I think many of y'all will stay safe, stay healthy. And I think hopefully we all can go through this pandemic together. Take care. Yeah, passing back to the organizer.
Thank you. Really, we appreciate the time given by all these great shakers and movers. Thank you very much. And as I mentioned just now, for those of you who are keen to be taking your pledge to be part of the youth community and make a difference as Asian, ASEAN regions as we belong. And who knows, one day you could also be joining our panelists here today, right? So I will give us about a minute so that if there's no further questions and things like that to our organizer, we really thank for the time, and let's give a minute for us to begin to disperse, and stay on if you want to understand about Project 2100. All right, for those of you who are still here, just about 5 to 10 minutes for me to walk you through, right? And thanks for still being here. Now, Project 2100, as I mentioned during my opening, and some of you might already be in then or not, let's first be on the same page, yeah? So to recap, we are actually championing the youth empowerment journey in ASEAN as a community to be ready for the future of jobs and the future of leaderships. Next, again. And CAT is going to zoom on the focus of 5 ASEAN countries for a start. And Rubik will be a platform of where and how this shall begin. I invite you to the Rubik video to understand further.
All companies, no matter big or small, are transforming their business digitally. They're looking for talents with digital skills to drive digital transformation. Now everyone is expected to work with emerging technologies where data is the key ingredient. No matter what background you're from, no matter which position you're in, you will be expected to work with data. The truth is, you don't need to be a data professional to work with data. What you need is the ability to analyze, communicate, and work with data. This is data literacy. But how do you become data literate? Step 1. Identify your digital skills. Step 2. Get clarity on what skills to learn based on industry demands. Step 3. Get a personalized learning path unique to you. Step 4. Get matched with jobs and projects relevant to you. Step 5. Connect with peers, mentors, industry experts, and employers. Step 6. Participate in competitions to build reputation. Join thousands of others in a growing community. Future-proof your skills. Become data literate with Rubik. Sign up to get started.
All right, so if you are an individual who are keen in this, what you will get is that you will have your skills, strengths being measured, get yourself certified, and be recognized. We will recommend the actual learning path that is unique to you and what you want to begin with being a data professional. And not only that, we will then enable to matchmake you to organizations who would appreciate your skills. Now, if you, So now if you are from an organization, you are representing your organization, you will get more clarity on your workforce, their skill inventory, and have access to talents and mobility across your organization, right? Next again. We have done this for quite a number of years, and we have got many success stories working with young people, skilling them, reskilling them, placing them, and they are now making a difference in some of the organizations that's well known out there. They are now data professionals. And with that, I bring to you this QR code. If you are keen, now take your pledge now. Go through with this journey and be that community of ASEAN future leaders. Thank you very much.
All companies, no matter big or small, are transforming their business digitally. They're looking for talents with digital skills to drive digital transformation. Now everyone is expected to work with emerging technologies, where data is the key ingredient. No matter what background you're from, no matter which position you're in, you will be expected to work with data. The truth is, you don't need to be a data professional to work with data. What you need is the ability to analyze, communicate, and work with data. This is data literacy. But how do you become data literate? Step 1. Identify your digital skills. Step 2. Get clarity on what skills to learn based on industry demands. Step 3. Get a personalized learning path unique to you. Step 4. Get matched with jobs and projects relevant to you. Step 5. Connect with peers, mentors, industry experts, and employers. Step 6. Participate in competitions to build reputation. Join thousands of others in a growing community. Future-proof your skills. Become data literate with Rubik. Sign up